Hello everyone, welcome to Wondertalk episode number 33. If this is your first time visiting this series, this is a companion series to my Sith Inquisitor playthrough, where we talk about my character's story, history, background in a roleplay way, not necessarily what's delivered by the main story of the Star Wars The Old Republic game. On the last episode, I let you guys know that Javiik's father went to fight in the war on Dathomir during the Great Galactic War, and we know that he returned and his family was missing, but what happened in between? What was it like for him on Dathomir? And one of the really cool things about Javiik's story is that it has a lot of input from you guys, so here's some of the comments that you left to help shape Javiik's story. Sean Williams had a really particular story that I really liked, so here we go. On Dathomir, we can say that Javiik's father fought against the forces of Darth Arctix, the head of the Sphere of Sith Ancient Knowledge. On Dathomir, the Sith were at their most deadliest, using the natural mist of the planet to ambush Republic forces. By day, the Republic would not only have to worry about the Imperial threat, but also the local wildlife. By night, Republic must be on their guard because at night troops would go missing and never be seen again, and many of Javiik's father's friends have gone missing. Months have passed and the Republic is on the back foot because the Empire has unleashed these unnatural creatures. As night falls, Javiik's father was taken in the night by a group of natives that sides with the Empire. After being locked up for days, he was reunited with some of his comrades. They tell him about the creatures and that they have unleashed on the Republic forces were prisoners changed by Darth Arctix. And Darth Arctix is actually a character I think we should meet coming up somewhere in the story. He has relations with Darth Sash, our Javiik's current master. So that was really cool that Sean knew a little bit about the story coming up, and it would be some very cool foreshadowing to know that Javiik's father actually fought in a war against Darth Arctix, someone from the actual Dark Council. Alexander said, originally, House Ulgo provided the Republic military with fine soldiers and officers. Maybe Javiik's father could have had ties with House Ulgo, perhaps serving as a trainer, a drill sergeant? Boris Ulgo, for example, was a Republic war hero, but after the coup he laid to protect Alderaan from the Empire, the Republic disowned him and withdrew their support to House Ulgo. And while that's not a perfect fit because Javiik's family winded up more aligned for House Thule and they had been aligned more with the Republic houses before, so maybe somewhere along the way after Alderaan had settled down a bit, Javiik's father joined House Ulgo. Maybe they were just nearby, maybe they had a good business transaction, I don't know. Javiik's father did really want to help rebuild and protect Alderaan, so he would probably have happily joined any of the houses' military battalions at that point, because one way or another, after the attack by the Sith, all of the noble houses wanted to be safe from the Sith at that point in time. And Anna Sumner had a lot to say about what Dathomir the planet itself was really like. Anna said, Javiik's father quickly realized that Dathomir was nothing like Cathar. Besides the frequent Imperial and Sith attacks, the climate and the beasts seemed to also be conspiring against them. Many of the troops fell ill to mysterious diseases, and they lived in fear of a dreaded Rancor attack. They even began to have hallucinations. One day, a Rancor did attack. He slaughtered many of the troops, and Javiik's father and a few other soldiers managed to kill it, but with dreadful losses. During Raithen's stay, he stumbled on many strange ruins. Many times the Sith and the Imperials would use them for bases. Eventually, the Republic pulled out, and it was considered a loss. And that's what's really cool about the Battle of Dathomir. We only know bits and pieces about the planet itself. We know pretty much nothing about the actual war on Dathomir during that time. So it's very cool that you guys have been able to kind of fill in the blanks with your own thoughts and ideas, and things like the Sith ruins. That's so cool. That's not something that's written on Wikipedia. So thank you, Anna, for submitting your comment as well. William Spears says they don't think that the war on Dathomir went well either. William Spears said, Republic and Imperial squads seem to be about 80% sentient and 20% droid. Maybe Raithen could have familiarity with command styles needed to get the best of both types. Sith and Jedi make periodic and often terrifying appearances. A place like Dathomir could be one of perpetual shortages of rations and munitions. As one veteran of Impal and Kohima once told me, 6 weeks of fish heads and rice. So I think William's very right. I feel like the Republic was spread so incredibly thin during the Great Galactic War, and Dathomir was just out in the middle of nowhere, and there wasn't a huge population there, so I don't think they would be getting the highest end of the supplies, so definitely on the right track there. Herder of Sheep had a really long story comment that I'm actually going to steal bits and pieces of but not follow exactly. I really like that they had a huge idea of how the Battle of Dathomir maybe went, so here we go. The Battle of Dathomir was a horrific fight, with the Empire utilizing Sith magic to control Dathomir's native population, which tore through the Republic forces in an attempt to beat back the Sith forces. The Republic ordered a bombing run on the Empire's main fortress because it contained the majority of the Sith beasts. But the fortress was ray-shielded, so the Republic sent a unit of about 50 of their soldiers, including Javiik's father, to lower the ray shield. They told them that their mission was to lower the ray shield and take the base. Once the ray shield was lowered, despite having soldiers in the fortress, the Republic ordered the bombing run. The Republic's bombing did the job of destroying the majority of the Sith beasts, but 45 of the 50 soldiers attacking the fortress were killed as well. Due to the loss of their majority of beasts, the Empire retreated and withdrew from Dathomir. The Republic succeeded and took Dathomir, despite the Republic knowingly bombing his unit just to win the battle. Javiik's father survived and still fought for the Republic, as he justified what the Republic did on Dathomir as a miscommunication between the Republic's commanders on Dathomir. Until about 3 months later, when he heard the Empire had struck back and had taken Dathomir, and the Republic was already making plans to retake Dathomir. This, coupled with the bombings of his unit when the Republic had taken Dathomir early in the war, had the effect of souring Javiik's father's view on war altogether, seeing it as pointless and endless, so he resigned from the Republic military and returned to Alderaan, where his family was surely waiting for him. And oh, I love so many elements of that story. I'm going to take bits and pieces and weave it in with some of the other comments that were left. And we've got one more to go, and that's by Jack. And Jack had a lot to say about what kind of man Javiik's father was. Jack said, "My take about Javiik's father is, as a soldier who bravely fought for Alderaan, experienced and strong, he volunteered to go to Dathomir as a man of principle. He witnessed Alderaan's devastation, so his mission became more focused on protecting people. He doesn't really care about the Jedi or the Sith, he cares about society. He is an idealist. He stands for protecting and preserving cultures, not imposing them. With time, he is not a soldier anymore. He is a man that helps people, rebuilding the world, knowing how easy it is to destroy and how hard it is to build. Tenaciously, he works hard, thinking of his family every day, collecting resources to be able to get back and start a new life with enough money to build a bright future for them. For his encounter with Javiik, he will not judge him. He believes that only history can judge." And that's very interesting. We haven't really talked a lot about what it will be like when Javiik runs into his father. So here's what happened to Javiik's father on Dathomir. The war on Dathomir was bleak, bitter, and danger lurked around every corner. Not only did the Republic soldiers who had been stationed there have to worry about Darth Arctus's hand-picked Sith soldiers, but the very planet itself conspired against their every move. The Force-wielding Sith troops would cloak themselves in the natural mist to drag sleeping soldiers into the night. Rations and supplies were perpetually short, and mysterious deadly illnesses ran rampant through the Republic forces fighting what felt like a hopeless, endless battle. Rythan, Javiik's young father, had joined the Republic military as an idealist, to help, to rebuild, and to protect the ideals of freedom and peace that the Republic stood for. But on Dathomir, it was almost impossible to even see what the battle around them was trying to preserve. Rumors passed that Darth Arctus was looking for something that the Jedi Council didn't want him to find. He was the head of the sphere of ancient knowledge, and the men could only guess in whispers what he could be seeking, and what were they supposedly protecting. Rythan had joined the Republic military through natural channels. After House Soul accepted his son as a page in their house, Rythan became more familiar with the noble houses, and eventually became a soldier of House Ulgo, and was quickly put to work rebuilding Alderaan while also training to protect the planet from future Sith invasions. Shortly after, he was scouted into the Republic military, where he felt he could better practice his ideals, even if it meant leaving his family for a time. The Battle of Alderaan had left scars on him, and the brutality the Sith showed during their attack left little room for doubt when it came to the validity of the battle. But Dathomir was different. There were no tortures, there were no townships burned to the ground. There was only war, and the Sith seemed almost uninterested in the few native inhabitants of the planet. Dreadful rancor attacks were frequent, and he had even lost friends to toxic hallucinogenics released by the swamplands. Rythan had joined the war to protect other families like his own on Alderaan, but there was nothing on Dathomir that he felt was worth saving. Years later, Darth Arctis gave up his search, but he did not plan to leave the planet unscathed. Leaving a key ruin that was being used as a base seemingly undefended, Darth Arctis lured the Republic to attack through a combination of Sith sorcery and subterfuge. The base itself was not empty, but housed a majority of the beasts that the Empire had trained into their command, and the attacking Republic soldiers were met with the horrors the Sith forces had left behind. As the Republic began to realize their mistake, Darth Arctis ordered an indiscriminate wide-scale bombing of the ruined fortress before retreating from Dathomir, not having found what he was looking for. Once the Empire left, the Republic ordered the retreat of what was left of its own soldiers shortly after. The Sith no longer had any interest in the world of Dathomir. Before his next deployment, Rythan was given leave to return to Alderaan to meet with his family, but he returned to an empty home and a missing family. No one, not even the noble house members, had any idea what had happened to Shiva Vada and her young son Javiik. Knowing that her ship and many of their treasured possessions were missing from their homestead, Rythan could only hope that they had left of their own choice and were safe somewhere in the galaxy. The Battle of Dathomir was a horrific fight, but Rythan strongly still believed that if he fought for the Republic, there must be other planets similar to Alderaan that deserved to be a sanctuary of peace. So he returned to the military shortly after finding his family missing. The needless loss of life and the bombing of his unit had soured Rythan's view on the war, but his faith in his ideals was strong, until the fateful day he received word of his next deployment. Dathomir. Darth Arctis had returned, and the pointless, endless war was to begin anew. So now we know what happened to Javik's father on Dathomir. It was truly a horrific time for him, but he really hoped that the next battle would be a good one, that he would return to his family, and it sounded like neither of those would be true. So once he returned to Alderaan, found his family missing, and found out he would be returning to Dathomir, do you think he stayed in the military and returned to the terrible fight on Dathomir, or do you think he deserted and left his post? We know eventually, by the time we get to Javik's story, Javik's father is on Tatooine. We don't know how he got there. That's what we get to talk about today. So in the comments, do you think Javik's father went to Dathomir the second time or not? And second, how do you think he wound up on Tatooine, and what state is his mind in by the time that Javiik would eventually meet him in this timeline? Yes, we're going back to Tatooine, but this is going to be only in our lovely, wonderful roleplay story. So even if you have only a little idea, you don't have to write a whole story. You can write as little or as much as you want to contribute to Javik's story. And I will catch you guys next time on the next episode of Wondertalk.